Oh, hello there. I'm Professor Ludwig van Drake, and welcome to The Battlefield, a new documentary series that gets up close and personal with the armies of the Civil War. We've got candid interviews and actual battle footage of some of America's most revered generals. In today's episode, we will follow Generals Lee, Jackson, and Hooker through their campaign in Chancellorsville, the bloodiest battle of the bloodiest war in American history. The Battle of Chancellorsville, the bloodiest battle of the Civil War, was fought from April 30th to May 6th, 1863, in Spotsylvania County, Virginia, near the village of Chancellorsville. The campaign pitted Union Army Major General Joseph Hooker's Army of the Potomac against an army half its size, General Robert E. Lee's Confederate Army of Northern Virginia. After the Battle of Fredericksburg, command of the Army of the Potomac switched from Burnside to Major General Joseph Hooker, a 48-year-old Massachusetts native reputed to possess high courage and low morals. Within weeks, Hooker's skills restored the health and morale of his troops, whom he proudly proclaimed the finest army on the planet.
Hi, I'm General Hooker. I've crafted a brilliant plan for the spring that I expect will compel Lee to abandon his Fredericksburg entrenchments. First, I'll detach my cavalry, 10,000 strong, toward Richmond to sever Lee's command with the Confederate capital. Then I'm going to send my infantry across the Rappahannock to sweep against Lee's left flank. The rest of the army is going to cross the river at Fredericksburg and menace the rebels. My plans are perfect, and when I start to carry them out, may God have mercy on General Lee, for I will have none.
The condition of the Confederate Army led credence to Hooker's boast. He began his campaign on April 27th, and within 3 days, some 40,000 Federals had splashed upriver. On April 29th, a sizable Union force built pontoon bridges below Fredericksburg and moved to Lee's side of the river. With both factions of the Army of the Potomac across the Rappahannock, Lee and his troops faced a serious dilemma. Because the Army of Northern Virginia was so much smaller than Hooker's army, conventional military wisdom dictated that Lee and his men withdraw south to avoid Hooker's trap. Lee opted instead to meet the Federal challenge head-on. So what are we going to do?
I say we meet the Federal challenge head-on. Hooker's primary threat is in the west, so let's send 12,000 troops to the old Fredericksburg entrenchments. We'll have the army confront Hooker's flanking column.
Alright, head on. We'll apply directly to the forehead. By mid-afternoon of April 30th, Hooker's troops had arrived at the most important road junction in the wilderness. A large brick building named Chancellorsville dominated this intersection of the Orange Turnpike with Orange Plank, Ely's Ford, and River Roads. So far, the Federals had encountered no opposition, so Hooker decided to halt at Chancellorsville and await the arrival of additional Union troops.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He hath loosed the faithful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on.
Halt! Let's stop here and wait for additional troops. Shouldn't we keep going and keep our momentum?
No, I think we should stop here. My feet are killing me and my head, it's just really big and it's hard to keep walking.
Do I hear a shirker?
No, have you seen my head?
Oh, well, if that's all, let's get something for this tired young man to sit on. Why don't you go fetch the wooden horse? Right away, sir.
Wooden horse?
The wooden horse.
Can I just sit on the ground?
No, you may not, sir.
Wooden horse.
Sit. No, 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 no. Just like that.
For how long?
7 hours.
Oh. With Hooker losing momentum, Stonewall Jackson seized the initiative to press forward against the Union troops. He left the Fredericksburg lines at 3 a.m. on May 1st and arrived at Zoen Church 5 hours later. It's time for me to seize some initiative. We're leaving Fredericksburg first thing in the morning. Grab your rifles, men. We're attacking the Federals.
Oh my God! The Confederates are here! Fall back, men! Fall back! Assume a defensive position!
He told me to sit on here for 7 hours. So that's what I'm gonna do, so I don't get in more trouble. But they're all gone now. But I'm still gonna sit here. They're probably gonna come back for me.
1, 2, 3. Big-headed corps!
Fightin' Joe, why do we surrender our advanced position? It's alright, Couch. I've got Lee just where I want him. He's gonna have to fight me on my own ground.
I think my commanding general has gone bonkers. He's a whipped man if he thinks that was a good idea.
Confederate scouts verified the Federals' strong positions extending from Chancellorsville to Hazel Grove. This was not good news. The Southern Army could not afford a costly frontal attack against the Union's prepared fortifications. Fortunately, Jeb Stuart developed intelligence that the Union right flank was unprotected. We've got to gain access to Hooker's vulnerable flank.
I've dispatched aides to explore the roads to the west and to discover the weak areas.
Before dawn on May 2nd, Lee and Jackson studied a hastily drawn map and decided to undertake one of the biggest gambles in American military history. We are about to undertake one of the biggest gambles in American military history.
I heard.
Jackson's corps, about 30,000 troops, would follow a series of country roads and wood paths to reach the Union right. Lee, with the remaining 14,000 infantry, would occupy a position more than 3 miles long and divert Hooker's attention from Stonewall's trek. The Army of Northern Virginia would then be fractured into 3 pieces, having to separately fend off the Confederates.
Yonder! There are some rebels in the distance. Let us fire upon them. Hey, I think something's stuck in here. Hey, can you hand me the ramrod? Hey, wait, I think my hair's stuck.
We can't wait, just fire. We can always get reinforcements that look just like her.
Yes, General Couch. Fire.
Wait, don't fire! Ah! No!
Who's that?
Some poor fool. Just kick her.
Drat, they still got away. Oh well, let's just go tell Hooker that they're still around.
The rebels are coming! The rebels are coming! I wonder if they're trying to reach my right flank. Be on the lookout for an attack from the west.
I'm gonna sneak my men along obscure trails to make it look like we're retreating. After I feel like we've made a desired impression, we're gonna duck under some wilderness canopy and continue our march to Hooker's men. Pretty smart, huh? Jackson kept his column northbound on Brock Road to the Orange Turnpike, where the Confederates would finally be beyond the Union right. The exhausting march, which had the men traveling more than 12 miles, ended with Stonewall's troops deploying into battle lines next to the turnpike. When finally formed, the Confederate front measured nearly 2 miles across. That's a whole lot of blood to be spilled.
I just heard some guy say that Jackson's troops are approaching.
No way! I don't believe you. They were retreating.
Do you at least think we should have somebody to check it out?
No!
Get out of my sight, you coward, or I'll send the firing squad.
I'm so sorry, General Hooker.
Get out! Hey, General Couch, can you pass me some more of that whiskey?
Yeah.
Thanks. Good.
Hey, Hooker, pass me some. Hey.
No!
You're not a general.
I could be a general. Hey, where'd that other soldier go, the bored, apathetic one?
I think he died of dysentery.
Bummer. Oh my god, the rebels! All right, men, the end is near. The Confederates are fast approaching and they far outnumber us. But we must be ready to fight valiantly for our country.
The battle that ensued would be the bloodiest battle ever known. Along the road was pandemonium, recalled the Massachusetts soldier, and on the side of the road it was chaos. Many of Hooker's men fought bravely, but the overmatched Federals were outnumbered and were no match for Jackson's forces. The Screaming Gray Legions overwhelmed the Union Army and eventually drove them completely from the field. The faint of heart should leave the room for this next montage. The bloodiest montage of the bloodiest documentary of the bloodiest battle of the bloodiest war in American history. That means you, Aunt Grayson. We're waiting.
From whence shall we expect the approach of danger? Shall some transatlantic giant step the earth and crush us at a blow? Never. All the armies of Europe and Asia could not by force take a drink from the Ohio River or set a track on the Blue Ridge in the trial of 1,000 years. If destruction be our lot, we ourselves must be its author and finisher. As a nation of free men, we will live forever or die by suicide.
There'll be no more counting the cars on the Garden State Parkway. No waiting for the front walk bus to carry me to who knows where. And when I stand tonight near the lights of the Fenway, when I not yet like hell for the glory of the Newark Bears. 'Cause where I'm going to now, no one can ever hurt me. Where the well of human hatred is shallow and dry. Oh, I never wanted to change the world, but I'm looking for a New Jersey. 'Cause tramps like us, baby, we were born to die.
David, resign. Are there any last words?
I've always loved you. I just pretended to hate you. Not. What happened next would be a huge loss to the Confederates. Jackson hoped to maneuver between Hooker and his escape routes across the river, and then, with Lee's help, to grind the Army of the Potomac into oblivion. Jackson rode ahead of his men to check on enemy troops, and a North Carolina regiment mistook him for Union cavalry and fired at him. He was shot in the right hand and the left arm and was seriously wounded. Aides struggled to remove the general from the field. Jackson had to have his arm amputated and shortly after died of complications from pneumonia.
I've lost my right arm and I'm bleeding at the heart.
With Jackson wounded, command of the Confederate Army fell to Cavalryman Stuart. Hooker received reinforcements during the night and his troops reoccupied Hazel Grove. The Union troops divided the Confederates into separate wings controlled by Stuart and Lee. The Confederate commanders understood the need to connect their divisions, and Stuart prepared an all-out onslaught against Hooker's men. Hooker made it easy for him. As the Southerners approached the far crest of Hazel Grove, they observed Hooker's men retiring. Stuart took advantage of the opportunity and placed 30 cannon on Hazel Grove, and gunners pounded the Union Army. The Federals responded with 40 pieces, and soon an artillery battle erupted. Following soon after, early the morning of May 3rd, would be the bloodiest fighting of the battle.
Unfortunately, I can't say the same for the rest of my troops. We seem to have suffered a substantial loss. I think this was a Confederate victory, but it sure was bloody.
It must have been from such a scene that men in ancient times rose to the dignity of gods.
After the battle you just witnessed, Hooker had seen enough. Over the objection of most of his corps commanders, he ordered a withdrawal across the river. The Federals conducted their retreat under the cover of darkness and arrived in Stafford County on May 6th. Against all odds, the Confederates had won the battle. Their exceedingly great leadership had paid off. In the words of Chancellorsville historian Bob Crick, the Chancellorsville campaign swept inexorably over Fredericksburg and the region, leaving in its wake more than 30,000 casualties. It was an extremely bloody war, and it resulted in great loss for both sides, including the loss of a great general, Stonewall Jackson. The bloodshed was incredible, something that has never been seen anywhere else in history. The Battle of Chancellorsville was truly the bloodiest battle of the Civil War. Just ask Anne Grayson. That concludes tonight's special presentation of The Battlefield. I'm Professor Ludwig von Drake. Good night, and have a pleasant tomorrow.